Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I'm Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and we have a big week 16 in the NFL, big matchups in the NFC East and in the AFC North, a couple of quarterbacks who have been benched, but we got to start in the AFC West, and we got a matchup of the 6 and the 7 seed in the AFC playoffs. We got the Broncos heading to LA to face the Chargers, and this should be an interesting game between these two teams. A rematch of a game from week six where the Chargers won 23-17. This should be an interesting game. I'm looking forward to this one. Week 6 or week 7. I'm trying to remember when they had that rematch. I'm not sure, but the Chargers are going for the sweep against the Broncos. But both teams are kind of going in opposite directions. The Chargers have lost 2 in a row. The Broncos had a good comeback win last week thanks to Jonathan Taylor. Dropping the ball before he scored a touchdown, and then the Broncos scored 24 unanswered points. So Broncos coming in 9-5, Chargers coming in 8-6. I think this is going to be a close, competitive game between these two. I think it's going to be close and competitive. But I think the difference in this game is I think that Justin Herbert is not healthy. I think he's not 100%, and he's going to turn the ball over a couple times. And I think Denver's going to run a little better. I think Denver's going to be a team that runs the ball better. I think Bo Nix is going to make less mistakes than Justin Herbert, which is crazy to say, but I just think Denver right now is the healthier team. Denver's the healthier team. They're going to run the football better. I think Bo Nix makes less mistakes. And I think that the Broncos defense forced a couple turnovers from Justin Herbert. And I'm going to go with the Broncos here. I'm going to go with the Broncos to clinch a playoff spot for the first time since the 2015 season. The first time since they won the Super Bowl. They've missed the playoffs 8 years in a row. This will be the first time the Broncos get into the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl in 2015. And I got them clinching a playoff spot, and I got them winning this game. I got the Broncos winning this one 23-19 over the Chargers. But Justin, can the Chargers sweep the Broncos and spoil their and hurt and ruin their chances to clinch a playoff spot?
With you here, I got the Broncos 23-20. The Chargers, they want to bounce back and sweep the Broncos. They got to get back to their running game, and that's obviously what Jim Harbaugh teams do so well, toughness up front. But they're just so banged up right now. Gus Edwards kind of, it's been better when they have J.K. Dobbins and then kind of be able to use Gus Edwards off of that. But no J.K. Dobbins this week. And I just think, Chargers is going to struggle to get that physicality, that running game going again. I do think Bo Nix plays well enough in this one. And I do think the Broncos, knock off LA in this one. The Chargers defense last week, too, really struggled. And, the Chargers right now, just a ton of guys are hurt, especially the wide receiver weapon. And, guys like Quentin Johnson really got to step up and have big games to help out Justin Herbert. But right now, I kind of like the way the Broncos are, playing a little bit better than the Chargers right now.
Yeah, they are. They're playing better. Sean Payton's done a great job. The Broncos have done a great job transforming this defense. It was one of the worst in the league last year. Now it's one of the best. Bo Nix has just continued to improve. And he didn't have that good of a week last week, but he's improved each week. He's been improved. He's definitely improved since the start of the year. He entered into Jay Daniels is going to win. I think going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, but he entered in that conversation. the last couple of weeks. So I just think the Broncos are the better team, and Herbert's not healthy. Herbert's ankle injury. He's just not healthy, and I think the Chargers are gonna have to throw him out there. I think he's not going to be great in the game. He's going to struggle, and that's why I think the Broncos win and they get into the playoffs. I think the Broncos get into the playoffs. Who would have thought at the beginning of the year that the Broncos would make the playoffs, especially after they released Russell Wilson, had to take a dead cap hit. And we'll get to another team that has to take a dead cap hit later on, but they had to take a dead cap hit in free agency. Who would have thought they were going to make the playoffs? That they were going to clinch a playoff spot right before Christmas.
Yeah. I don't think anybody really saw that coming this year. The Bo Nix pick was kind of, that turned into so far like a really nice pick for him so far. And Sean Payton's done a really nice job developing him, and Bo Nix done a really good job so far early on here in that offense. And yeah, the Broncos defense, you mentioned how much better they've gotten this year. Last year they gave up 70 points in the game against the Dolphins. Like that, they've really come a long way from last year. And yeah, Sean Payton's done a remarkable job with this team. And to see this team, they win tonight, have double-digit wins. They're one of the more surprising stories so far of the NFL season. Because yeah, nobody really saw this team being a threat there to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I did not, and they definitely surprised me that they're really, really close to getting in to the postseason. But we got to move on to another team in the AFC West who is dealing, and their quarterback is dealing with an ankle injury, and that is Patrick Mahomes. As on Saturday, they host the Houston Texans, who won the AFC South last week, thanks to them beating the Dolphins and the Broncos beating the Colts. In this game, I'm going to go Houston here because I just don't know how healthy Mahomes is going to be. I don't know if he's number one. I don't know if he's going to play. Number two, even if he plays, I don't think he's going to be 100%. And the biggest, this is a good matchup for the Texans because the biggest issue with the Chiefs is their tackle position. And the Texans have two good edge rushers in Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. And I think they're going to put pressure on Mahomes. I think they're going to shut down Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt in the run game. I think that Joe Mixon will get his yards on the ground. We know Houston's offense hasn't been as good as we thought, but I think they'll be able to score enough points here. I think the Chiefs are going to struggle here. I think they're going to finally lose a one-score game. I have them finally losing a one-score game. I'm going with Houston here. I'm going Houston to go to 10-5 because Mahomes. This pick might change throughout the week depending on what happens with Mahomes and how healthy Mahomes is. But as of now, I am going to go with the Texans here. I don't think Mahomes 100% is going to be 100% in this game, so I'm going to go Houston here. I got Houston 20-17 over the Chiefs. But Justin, can the Chiefs continue to win one-score games and get to 14-1 and keep pushing towards the number one seed in the AFC?
I got the Chiefs in this one, 17-13. I do think Mahomes is going to play in this one, and I think they just do enough because you mentioned it. I don't really like the Texans' offense. Like they got 4 turnovers last week and still only could put up 20 points against the Dolphins. It hasn't been a great. And I think the Houston defense can keep them in it. They're going. They've been really good this year. But I just think Casey's offense just does enough in this one to squeak out another close victory in this one, and and I think Stroud probably makes a mistake or two, and that could cost the Texans the game in this one.
Yeah, I could see the Chiefs winning. I just don't. You don't really know how healthy Mahomes is going to be. That's why this is a very tough game to pick right now. And he's got to play on. He's going to have one less day of rest too. He's got to play on Saturday. The crazy thing with the Chiefs is they pretty much have to have 3 games in 11 days. So if Mahomes misses this one, the thing is, say he plays this one and doesn't play well, they may have to sit him against the Steelers because you don't want this injury to be lingering going into the postseason. I mean, so if I'm the Chiefs, I would sit Mahomes. Rest him, see if he could play against the Steelers the next week, and then even the next week at Denver to try if they have to play for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So yeah, if I'm the Chiefs, I would rest Mahomes this week. I would do that.
Yeah, I wonder if they win this week or they win Saturday, then they rest them Wednesday. Because they got a little bit more cushion there. Because it's even a shorter week that you got to play on Wednesday. Because yeah, it's a big thing that 3 games, 11 days. It's tough to really kind of recover and and heal in that quick of a time. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him play Saturday than sit on Wednesday, especially if they win, because then you're in a good spot because they definitely do want that bye, obviously, so that he can heal up. They got a bunch of guys offensively who at the weapon position that have been on IR this year. So they get them kind of healthy too, and they get that bye, I think would be huge because we always see that team kind of figure it out in the month of January. And, I think that, obviously they would love that extra week too to get healthy and, figure out kind of that offense.
Yeah. The bye would be huge. The bye would be huge for Kansas City if they get it, and they actually have a chance to get it. I mean, it's very slim this week. And I think if you guys win, if you guys somehow, that you're not going to do, upset Buffalo or if the Steelers if the Steelers lose to the Ravens, so we'll see what ends up happening with Mahomes. We'll see, but it should be interesting. But I just think Houston pulls the upset here, just because I don't think Mahomes is healthy. Now we got another big matchup in the AFC, and that on Saturday, and that's between the Steelers and the Ravens. If the Steelers win, if the Steelers beat the Ravens, they win the AFC North. If the Steelers win, if the Ravens win, they have a very good chance to win the AFC North, because if they would have. They would be tied, and they got in their final games against the Browns. So and the Chiefs still got to play, and the Steelers still got to play the Chiefs. So I think the thing is, in my opinion, I think the winner of this game wins. I think the winner of this game definitely wins the AFC North. And I think in this game, I'm going to go with the healthier team here. I'm going to go with the Ravens because they're the healthier team. I think Lamar has another good, not obviously not the game he had last week, but I think he has another good game. I think that the Ravens force a couple turnovers from Russell Wilson. I think the injuries to Pickens and Watt, there's a good chance both don't play are going to be critical in this game. I don't think the Steelers are going to lose by 2 touchdowns like they did last week in Philadelphia. I think it's going to be a close competitive game, just like it usually is between these two teams. But in the end, I'm taking the more talented team. I'm going to go with the Ravens here. I'm going to go with the Ravens 24-17. But Justin, can the Steelers sweep the Ravens and win the AFC North?
Baltimore as well, 24-21. Yeah, you said it. There's a lot of injuries right now for Pittsburgh, and I think that's going to be huge for them in this one. And I know Lamar struggled against the Steelers in his career. I think he's 1-4 now, and that one win came in 2019. So I know he's had his struggles against the Steelers, but I do think he plays well enough in this one. Especially if there is no Watt. He's not one of not the best defense player in the sport. And he could really wreak havoc, and that's such a huge loss if he can't go for Pittsburgh. So I do think Baltimore at home does enough in this one. I do think Pittsburgh played better than they did last week, and I think Baltimore finds a way to squeak this one out.
Yeah, it should be a really good game between these two teams. I mean, but even though Pittsburgh might be banged up it could be without Watt, it could be without Pickens, which are big losses. You saw the lot how Pickens not being there hurt their offense last week. So they could be losses, but it should be a really good game between the two. But I'm just going to go Baltimore here. I think Baltimore. I think Baltimore, even though Pittsburgh has a better record, and listen, if the Steelers win, I'll be wrong about this. But even though the Steelers have the better record, I think the Ravens are the better team. I think because the Ravens lost some games that they shouldn't have. The Raider game early in the year, they lost to Cleveland. They lost some games they shouldn't have lost. So I do think the Ravens, they're the more talented team, and I think they're the better team, and they have the better quarterback. So the only thing the Steelers I think have better than the Ravens is the head coach. I'd take Tomlin over Harbaugh. I take Tomlin over Harbaugh. Even though Harbaugh is one of the top coaches too. But even though the Steelers have a better record, I do think the Ravens are the better team. That's why I think they win on Saturday.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you there. I do think the Baltimore has a lot of talent. Again, their defense still isn't great, but I do think it's improving. And I think that's huge. And we'll see. When they get January and how they do in the playoffs. But yeah, I do think Baltimore's got a little bit more talent, especially all the injuries right now that the Steelers are facing. So yeah, I would not be surprised if Baltimore wins this one, and that and then they end up winning the AFC North there. The Steelers are still a really good team. They're well coached, but I think the Baltimore just got a little bit more talent than they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we got an AFC East matchup in Buffalo between the Pats and the Bills, and I think the Bills win this. They win it easily. I think Josh Allen throws 2 or 3 touchdown passes. Bills defense forces a couple turnovers from Drake May. I don't think this is a game. I think the Bills win this, and I got them winning it going away. I got them winning it 34-10. And I agree, Justin. I agree. You got the same. The Bills winning big, but the big question for the Patriots now is, should Gerard Mayo be back? Because you heard the comments. I'm betting you heard those comments last week after the Cardinals game, completely throwing Alex Van Pelt under the bus. And listen, I'm 50-50. I'm 50-50 if Mayo should be back or not. But last week definitely put me in the direction where he should be gone. And it's a little embarrassing for the organization that in less than a year that there's a chance their coach could be fired.
Yeah, I'm kind of done, especially today that there was a report from Tommy Curran saying that Mike Vrabel is interested in the New England job. So if you give me Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, a leader of men that had success in Tennessee, that got to a conference championship game in Tennessee, who led that with a team and led that conference championship against Patrick Mahomes in Tennessee. He had success, and look at the Titans this year; they're a 3-win team without him. So if Mike Vrabel is interested, a former player, a player that won 3 Super Bowls on your team, you have to think about firing Gerard Mayo. I know you don't want to get rid of a coach in 1 year. I have a feeling Kraft doesn't want to do this. Bob Kraft doesn't want to do it. Jonathan, I feel like, is done. I think Jonathan looks like he's done.
Not happy Sunday. He had the notepad out, which is rare.
I saw that cut out to the owner's box on the broadcast. He is done. Jonathan, I feel like, is done. But Kraft, he was a former Patriot, doesn't want to admit he made a mistake by promising him the job. So he's the one who's probably in his corner. Jonathan, he's out. I think he's already out on Mayo. And it feels like a lot of the media in Boston and the Patriots and the Patriot fans are already out on Mayo after 1 year.
Yeah, I am. You go back to the press conference too. It's every week he's got to walk something back on Monday. Like he's just not good at talking with the media. Like
the soft comment. Remember the soft comment. But they actually won the next week against thanks to them. They were playing the Jets, but they won the next week. Mm-hmm. But then the comment after the Miami game saying, I can't go out once the game. I can't help the players during the game. That was a really bad comment. And then last week, after not running Drake May on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, then just throwing Alex Van Pelt under the bus, taking zero accountability as the head coach of the team.
He hasn't done it all year. He hasn't learned. He hasn't. Drake May takes more accountability than he does at the podium than Gerard Mayo. Then it's head coach. You can't have somebody like that as a head coach. I'm out. I don't know. I've had enough. The thing on Sunday is, okay, if you want to run the ball, you're on the headset. Just go overrule Alex Van Pelt. You're the head coach. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah,
Mayo.
Exactly.
That's why I just don't get it. And the other thing was weird on Monday too is he gave him the day off, which they get after a win, after a loss, coming off a bye. Now you're playing Buffalo.
So you're going to give them the day off, and you're now playing one of the best teams in the league with 3 days to get ready for that game, with less time to get ready for that game. That's why this week is a recipe for a blowout, and I think another embarrassing performance for this team.
Yeah, which is fine because I want Vrabel now, so that's fine. If they lose 50-0, that gives me close to Mike Vrabel. I'll take it.
Could you imagine
we got a quarterback?
Yeah. Could you imagine getting Mike Vrabel as the head coach and Travis Hunter?
That'd be a heck of an offseason.
And T. Higgins in free agency? That would be amazing.
I would. Yeah. That would be an A+. That would be an A+.
That's very wishful thinking, but that would be amazing for you guys. You get Vrabel, you get Travis Hunter, and you get T. Higgins.
It would. That would be great. And then now you got to build the offensive line. Because I think if Vrabel would be good for this team. You got the quarterback in place.
Yep.
You got to, you're hopefully get a lot of young guys. You're going to spend a lot of money.
Would you take
Van Pelt? You need somebody to be a leader.
Would you take Van Pelt back as the OC or no?
I take him back as my QB coach. I want Dable. I would not buy Brian Dable.
Really? You wouldn't mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, and listen, there's a relationship there between those two. You wouldn't mind that. But he hasn't done a great job as calling the plays for the Giants. But if you have him as the OC, he would just focus on just calling the plays, not coaching the team.
Yeah. Because I think he did a great job with Josh Allen, of course, and I do think Drake May's got some Josh Allen in him. So I do think that would be a nice pairing. So that's kind of where I'm at, and they need to get rid of Coventry to the DC.
Covington's garbage.
He can't tackle.
Let me tell you something. They might not get rid of Mayo. Covington is gone. Covington is garbage. Yeah. Covington is gone after the season.
Yeah. I know probably last year you couldn't get much coordinated because this was not a great job, but you got to do better than him because this defense got so much worse. It's week 15 or week 16. You can't tackle anybody. It's so bad.
It's gotten real.
It's not getting better.
It's gotten really bad, but that's the issue too with Gerard Mayo. He's supposed to be a defensive head coach, and the defense has gotten worse. Like I compared to Dave Canales. I think I said this last week. I compared to Dave Canales in Carolina. Dave Canales, if you're a Panther fan, you probably feel a lot better about Dave Canales because your offense and Bryce Young has gotten better this year. has gotten better, especially recently. I know they didn't have a good week last week against the Cowboys, but it's gotten better recently. The Patriots, their defense has not just gotten worse. It's gotten much worse under a guy who was a middle linebacker, especially against the run. Their run defense has gotten worse, and their head coach was a middle linebacker. It makes no sense why the defense is playing the way it is.
Yeah, it doesn't. And, again, they're in the offseason. They're riding bicycles around the locker room. Again, he called his team soft, but he made a soft culture in there. It's totally different, and that's been a big problem. So yeah, the defense got so much worse. I think it's I think if somebody like Mike Vrabel wants this job, you have to move on. I don't care what Kraft's ego is, and I don't usually agree with Jonathan Kraft, but I hope he overrules his father here and gets rid of Mayo, because he was not pleased. And last week I didn't think it was possible, but now I really feel like it's more likely.
It is, especially if they lose out. If they didn't finish 3-14, I definitely think it's likely that Gerard Mayo was one and done. I think there is a good chance that Mayo was one and done. Now, moving on to the biggest story in the league right now, and that's the Falcons, and they have just benched Kirk Cousins in favor of Michael Penix. And right now, the big question is this the right move for the Falcons? And I'm gonna, even though Kirk Cousins has played terribly the last 5 weeks, I'm gonna say no, because you're throwing you're throwing a rookie quarterback. I know they'll probably win this week against the Giants, but you're throwing a rookie quarterback into a playoff race. Into a playoff race. And I know Kirk Cousins hasn't played well, but Michael Penix is a rookie. And I know it'll probably work this week. But they're probably going to get embarrassed against the Commanders on Sunday Night Football for making this move. I think they get embarrassed in Washington because this. I think ultimately, I know Kirk Cousins hasn't played. Now we'll get to what the Falcons did, which made no sense in the offseason. But I think right now it's the wrong move. I just think you ride it out with Kirk Cousins. I mean, even if you somehow made the playoffs and got blown out in the first round, he's probably not back next year anyway. So I think they should have just wrote it out with Kirk Cousins. I just think this is a bad position to put Michael Penix in right now.
I actually like the move. You got to see what you got in Penix. And Cousins been so bad. They ran the ball at one point 11 straight times the first down. The one that it would have made it 12 straight plays running the ball on first down. They did throw it, and he threw a pick. Like, Kirk Cousins been laying on everything. Their offense is it's been so bad the last month or so. You got to see what Penix has, and you're right in the race still. And this is as soft as a landing you could put him in for this week. So I think this is a good week to put him in.
Yep.
And he's a lefty. He kind of, kind of changes your defense a little bit. So I like the move. The guy played a lot of college football. I think he's ready for this. Again, the pick made no sense that they drafted him, but they put Kirk Cousins there because it's not like he needed much seasoning. So I do think Penix is ready, and they got a lot of weapons. And, I think he can use his legs and give another element that Kirk Cousins hasn't been able to give you this year on offensively. So I do like the move for Atlanta, because what do you have to lose? Because they're not being watched with Kirk Cousins right now. I know Carolina's playing, and then you got Carolina like week 18 too. So, and Tampa Bay still has to lose, which I know they have Dallas this week.
I don't think they're gonna because they got Dallas. Even though Dallas is playing a little bit better, I still don't think the Cowboys win that game. They got Carolina and New Orleans. I don't think they're gonna.
Yeah, so that's why too. Like, they're probably not going to lose anyway. So you might as well throw him in there, because I just right now I don't like the way Kirk Cousins is playing. I do think right now the way Cousins is playing, I think Mike Penix is your better option.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to say that Penix is the better option, but the way Kirk Cousins is playing, it could be. But I disagree, because I just think when you're in a playoff race, I just don't think that's a good place to put a rookie quarterback in. I know it's a very soft landing. I get it's a soft landing, but I don't think it's a good place to put a rookie quarterback in. But I could see why they did it. It's a soft landing spot against the Giants. They have weapons with Bijan Robinson and Drake London, so I could see why they did it. But I just don't like the move right now. Obviously, I know he's going to be the starter from game one next year, but I just don't right now. I just don't like the move. I don't. I think that you should have just wrote it out with Kirk Cousins. I don't like putting Michael Penix in a rookie quarterback in a playoff race like this. But moving on to the game as they face the Giants, this was, and they have another soft landing. They had a soft landing spot last week, didn't play well, still got the win, and they have another one this week against the Giants. I think it's kind of gonna be the same thing for the Falcons. I think they're going to struggle because this is Penix's first start, so I think he's going to see Shane Bowen is going to bring pressure, kind of do what he did against Cleveland, bring pressure. He might force Giants will force a lot of turnovers. He might force a turnover from Penix, but I think the reason the Falcons are going to win this game is I think they're going to still be able to run the ball well with Bijan Robinson, and I think they're going to force mistakes from Drew Lock, and they're going to force a couple turnovers from Drew Lock. We saw Drew Lock play against New Orleans. He did not play well at all in that game. Listen. I think out of the next 3 games, this is the best chance the Giants have to win a game. Even though the Giants really they're not in their best interest would be to lose. But I think this is their best chance to win a game because the Falcons are starting a rookie quarterback. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I do think it's going to be close, but I'm going to go with the Falcons here. I'm going with the Falcons going to 8-7. I think Penix wins his first start. I got the Falcons winning at 17-10 over the Giants. But Justin, will the Falcons regret starting Penix and will the Falcons regret this move and lose this game and pretty much eliminate them from the playoffs?
No, I got the Falcons here too, 23-16. I think Penix has played well because I think he's going to play better than Kirk Cousins has the last couple of weeks. I think he'll make some plays against the Giants defense, but I also think Drew Lock will make a couple of plays, and I think Malik Neighbors could have a pretty big day. Against Atlanta's defense. So I do think Giants keep it close, but I do think Penix plays well. I think that element of him being able to run a little bit. And again, him being a lefty, like defense is always kind of scheming up because you're used to seeing a right-handed quarterback throwing the ball. So it's a little bit different as well here. So I do think the Falcons here at home. I think Penix plays well enough. And again, he's played in big games. He played in a national championship game last year. He played in the Pac-12 championship game. He played a college football semifinal game. So he's played in some big games before too. So I do think I don't think the moment's going to be too bright for him. And I think he plays well in this one.
Yeah, I think it should be a close game if the Falcons win. But going back to this situation, it all stems from what they did in the offseason. They paid Kirk Cousins $45 million a year and drafted Penix. The Falcons should have chose a lane. They should have chose a lane. Either draft a quarterback and sign a veteran journeyman backup, or sign Kirk Cousins and improve the team around Kirk Cousins. They half-weighed it. They half-weighed it, and they didn't 100% believe in Kirk Cousins coming off the Achilles. If you don't believe in Kirk Cousins coming off the Achilles injury, don't pay him $45 million a year. So I think the Falcon season was doomed on draft night. I know Cousins played well in the first half of the year, but this season was doomed on draft night with the decision to no indictment of Michael Penix, but it was doomed on draft night with the decision to take Penix because they pretty much weren't 100% committed to the quarterback they paid $45 million to. So they didn't pick one lane. So that's why I think their season was doomed on draft night.
No, I completely agree with you. Because it made no sense at the time where you really needed some defensive help, and there's a lot of good defensive guys on the board. That
right there, Jared Verse.
Yeah, you could have had him, right there for you, and they went with Michael Penix, who I think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. But yeah, you had Kirk Cousins. That made no sense why you signed him if you weren't fully bought in on him. But again, this is the Atlanta Falcons organization. Yep. Same organization that was too afraid that Bill Belichick was going to take the jobs and blank not to hire him. Yeah. Am I surprised? No, but the Falcons haven't always been great so yeah, it's been doomed from the start because man, their defense really could have used a lot of help defensively. That number 8 pick, they didn't do it, and their defense has been awful. And Kirk Cousins hasn't played well coming off Achilles at 36 years old. Like, you didn't know what you were going to expect. So it was a big mistake by the Falcons at the time, and it's definitely coming back to bite them right now.
Absolutely. And then going to the Giants, hit on the Giants quickly. Here's the question. Will there be another banner being hung over? Now, it'd be weird because the Jets are playing there on Sunday, so it'd be weird if they hang a banner over the stadium for a Jet game. But at this point, as a Giants fan, I think it's over for Daboll and Shane. I think it is. I think it's over for both of them. I think they got to move on. Shane had 2 terrible drafts, And then again, like we talked about with the Falcons, didn't commit to his quarterback. He wasn't 100% committed to his quarterback. You know, he tried saying Daniel, this year's about Daniel, but then he's calling the Patriots about Drake May. And Dable's talking about Jaden Daniel. So they were not 100% committed to the quarterback. And it's just been and really Daboll has regressed as a head coach. I mean, with the penalties, with you know, he's being an offensive coach, but having the worst offense in the league. I think it's time to move on from both.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's time. It's a total dumpster fire right now. You got to restart again, which is unfortunate. That yeah, you know, you got to do this again in 3 years. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, the way they're playing, it's just not great. The offense has been bad, and again, it all started at Hard Knocks, and it's still just it's so dumb that the Giants wanted that all out there on video that's for the world to see.
Joe Shane calling Saquon Barkley a $12 million back.
Yeah. You know, I think the Eagles are, you know, I think they tell you it's worth the $12 million right now.
Oh, it sure is worth the $12 million. Sure was worth the $13 million, but that they paid him.
Yeah.
Sure
so yeah. So it's unfortunate. You're 0-8 at home this year, which is you know, the New York Rangers won a game last February. So the Rangers have won a game sooner than the Giants have.
I'm at Life Stadium, which is embarrassing. Yes.
Yeah, so it's bad. So yeah, it's time to start over again. Unfortunately for you guys, but yeah, it's not pretty, but you have to. The way this thing's on off the tracks. It's again, we've talked about it. You don't want a rookie quarterback with a coach. The Bears just went through it with a coach that's on the hot seat and could be gone.
You don't want that new. Say you draft a Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. You don't want him learning two different. You don't want him trying to learn, having him learn. You don't want him having him. You want him learning one system in his first year, then firing a coaching staff, them having him have to learn another new system in his second year. So yeah, I think you just clean house. I think you just clean house. I hate to do it after what they did 2 years ago, but I think you just clean house and you start fresh with a new head coach, new GM, new quarterback. Just clean house completely. I think that's exactly what you do. So I think that's the direction the Giants should go in. So now moving on to the Sunday night game, and for the Buccaneers, they're trying to win their fifth straight game. They head to Dallas, face the Cowboys, and they're playing a Cowboy team that's been playing better. I think the big reason why with Cooper Rush has played pretty well, but Rico Dabo has really stepped up these last couple of weeks. I think he's really stepped up. The Cowboys defense with Deron Bland coming back, that their defense has improved as well. But I think they're going to have trouble with Tampa Bay's offense. I think they are. I think that Baker Mayfield's going to have another good game. I think the running game's been so much better for Tampa than it was last year. If Tampa was healthy and had Winfield and had Godwin, I'd have them as, you know, a dark horse team in the NFC because they beat the Lions and they beat the Eagles in the beginning of the season. So this definitely could be a dark horse team. This still could be a dark horse team in the NFC. I don't know about the head coach. I still think the head coach is average at best. But for this week, I got the Bucs here. I got the Bucs 28-23. I think it'll be a close. I think both teams will move the ball, but I think when the red zone is going to be the difference. Bucs will score touchdowns. Cowboys will kick field goals. I got the Bucs here 28-23. But Justin, can the Cowboys win their fourth game? Get their fourth win in 5 games?
I'm with you with the Buccaneers here. I got them 31-24. Yeah, the Cowboys been feisty lately. Maybe this keeps McCarthy's job too, which
we'll see.
Would be great. The way they're playing, they haven't quit on the guy yet. So good for the Cowboys there. But yeah, I just think this Bucs offense right now is rolling. And you mentioned the Buccaneers running game, and Bucky Irvin's been a huge part of that. He's really helped this. The rookie out of Oregon's made a huge difference with running game that struggled the last couple of years. So I do think the Buccaneers kind of move the football up and down on this Cowboys defense in this one. And I do think Cooper Rush, because he's played pretty well the last couple of weeks, I think he'll make some plays against his defense, but I just don't think they'll be able to keep up with the Buccaneers offense.
Yeah, it's good. It's hard. The Bucs offense has been really, really good. I mean, you saw them had that huge game. They had that huge game against the Giants out of the bye. Had 40 points last week. The Bucs offense, even without Chris Godwin, is playing really well. And how about Baker Mayfield? Pretty much resurrecting his career because he was up and down in Cleveland. Then he had to go to Carolina and LA those 2 years. But here in Tampa, he has resurrected his career, and he looks like a franchise. He looks like the guy that the Browns took number 1 overall. And the Browns are probably regretting not keeping him around. They probably are definitely regretting that right now.
Yeah. And I wonder too, Cleveland, with that organization not being, just with everything that went up going over, up there. If it's helped them to go to Tampa Bay, kind of get the second kind of life here. And you're seeing with Sam Donald too this year with the Vikings, like
Oh yeah.
what good coach can do, what a different organization can do for you. So I think Baker's really looked like the guy we kind of saw at Oklahoma. He's got that kind of chip on this, he's always been kind of a cocky guy. And you've seen it at times here with Tampa Bay, and he's done an excellent job here, kind of taking over. After they had Tom Brady there for a couple years, he's done a really nice job of kind of filling it in and looking like the franchise guy and worth that $100 million contract that they gave him so far.
He definitely is, and it looks like he is going to lead the Bucs to the postseason again, and that would be the Bucs' fourth straight NFC South title. The only time, actually, the ironic thing is the year they won the Super Bowl, they didn't win the South, the Saints did, but Baker looks like he's going to lead the Bucs to their fourth straight NFC South title this year. We got a huge matchup in the NFC East between the Eagles and the Commanders, and last week the Commanders got back Marshawn Lattimore, but they kind of survived against the Saints. The Eagles. Look, I think the Eagles look like, I hate to say it as a Giants fan, the Eagles look like the best team in football last week. The way they played against the Steelers. I mean, they won by 2 touchdowns and pretty much possessed the ball for the last 10 minutes of that game. Jalen Hurts looked good. He actually he played it well in a game where, there were the rumors all week about, the issues between him and A.J. Brown. That conversation's over the way he played this week, the way he played against the Steelers. So, And I think this is going to be it's going to be like last game they played, close and competitive. I think it's going to come right down to the end. I think Saquon's going to have a really good game. I think Jalen Hurts going to have a good game. But I think Jaden Daniels is going to play well here. But I think it comes down to the end where the Eagles defense is going to make a stop. And I'm going with the Eagles here. I'm going to go with the Eagles to clinch the division. The Eagles win this game to win the division. I've got the Eagles clinching the division. I got them winning it 28-20. But Justin, can the Commanders get revenge for what happened in Week 11 and keep their hopes to win the NFC East alive?
I got the Eagles here as well, 27-21. You mentioned the Eagles are impressive last week, and their offense has been pretty good of late. And the only thing is this team just doesn't get off the fast starts like everything else lately. You kind of say it's been rolling. It just, they don't get off the fast starts there. But I think they play well again. And Washington's offense looked a little bit better last week, and I know they ruled Tennessee a couple weeks ago, but like, I don't know what it is with Cliff Kingsbury's offenses. They don't ever improve. I don't know if they just get figured out towards the end of the year. I don't know what it is. So I do think the Eagles make some stops in this one. I do think they force turnover too, and I do think the Eagles do win this one and clinch the NFC East in this one.
Yeah, I think they do. And the Eagles, I think that was the fastest they started in a game all year last year. I mean, I think they had like 17 points in the first half. So that was the fastest. Yeah, the Eagles' starts have definitely been a question for. That's definitely been the one thing you'd question is their starts, but I think that was the fastest the Eagles started last year. And again, what impressed me the most about the Eagles is Saquon did not have a great game, and they still won the game because their defense played really well and their quarterback played really well.
Yeah, because Jalen all year's kind of, I wouldn't say struggle, but like they've been a much better team when they kind of just run the football and just oppose their will up front. And going back to last year, Jalen's had some turnover concerns. Like they threw a ton of INTs last year, and especially down the stretch. And Jalen played really well, and it looks he's cut his turnovers down, interceptions down to like 5 this year. And AJ Brown got the ball, and it definitely quieted because I kind of thought that was an issue. So the Eagles offense really looked good against a Pittsburgh defense that's one of the best in the league, and they played pretty well. Despite having Barkley having one of his worst games of the year. And again, they just possessed the football and they kept it out of Russell Wilson's hands, and their offense kind of did whatever they wanted.
They absolutely did. Yeah, they did whatever they wanted to do against that Steeler defense. So the Eagles are looking really, really good, really good. And to a lot of people, they look like the favorite to go to the Super Bowl. But we move on to a team that is right there neck and neck with the Eagles in the NFC, and that's the Lions. They are 12-2, but the issue with the Lions is they lost last week, but they more than lost. They lost a couple key players on defense. They lost Akeem McNeil. They've already lost Aiden Hutchinson. They've already lost Alex Anzalone. They've lost, Carlton Davis. This defense has so many injuries, but for the game this week, it's not going to matter because they're playing the Bears, and the Bears they've fired even firing Eberflus did not even help the Bears because Thomas Brown had to move over to be the head coach instead of the offensive coordinator, and Caleb has really struggled the last 2 weeks. I think it's going to be more of the same this week. I think the Lions are going to be able to run the ball offensively. I know they obviously lost David Montgomery, but they still have Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Goff, yes, he's not as good outdoors, but I think he throws a couple touchdown passes here. And I think Caleb struggles again. I think he throws a pick or two in this game. And I got the Lions winning this one by 2 scores. I got the Lions winning to 31-17. But Justin, can the Bears get revenge from Thanksgiving and snap their 8-game losing streak?
I think they keep it close in this one, 28-23. I just, as you mentioned, the line just have so many defensive. What do they have? 14 or 15 guys in the
14,
IR
yeah,
total right now.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate because I don't know if they're going to be able to hold on here and get to the Super Bowl now, but the Bears have another team that's gone off to really slow starts the last couple of weeks. Has been Chicago. They've kind of figured out in the second half, and I do think the Bears are gonna be able to score some points because the Lions defense is so decimated right now. But Caleb, he's really struggling to play with like in a structure, and that's something he didn't have to do at USC and at Oklahoma. So he's got some work to do in the offseason and when they find a new coach as well here. So I do think they put up some points in this one, but I don't think it's enough here to beat Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, a new coaching staff is going to help. They obviously we'll see what Caleb does with the new coaching staff. This year, it's just been a mess with all the turnover. They fire Shane Waldron. Then he actually plays. He started the year shaky, played pretty well. Then the Hail Mary happened. Then they had those 2 terrible games offensively. Fired Shane Waldron. Then they actually played pretty well when Thomas Brown was the OC and was the offensive coordinator. He played pretty well in those 3 games. The Bears were competitive in the games against the Vikings, the Packers, and the Lions. But then the disaster happened at the end of the Lions game, and it has just been downhill ever since. Yeah, there needs to be a new coaching staff. There just needs to be a new coaching staff in Chicago. And for the Lions, they are still my pick to win the Super Bowl because of how good their offense is. But yeah, some of the losses they've had on defense are huge. Akeem McNeil, one of the most underrated players in the NFL, he's going to be out, and then Aiden Hutchinson, but Anzalone in the middle. Just the loss. They've had so many losses on defense, but they are still my favorite to go. I'm still taking them to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC because I haven't seen that big of a drop. I know the defense didn't play well last Sunday, but I haven't seen that big of a drop from them yet. So they're still my favorite to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC. And I trust Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell's a coach that he's not going to use it as excuses. He's not going to use these injuries as excuses. This team is going to keep competing. I'll guarantee you that.
No, they definitely will. And I didn't mind his onside kick decision when they're on 2 scores because he knew he wasn't going to stop. Like, he knew he had to do it at some point.
I thought it was a little early and a little reckless. But you got a point with him not knowing he's not going to get a stop because he couldn't stop Josh Allen all day.
Yeah, so maybe you get him by surprise there instead of, if you do get towards the end of the game. So I didn't mind it. He is an aggressive guy. I could see why you disagree with that because it is a little bit early. But yeah, I just think it just shows you that I know it's Josh Allen, the Bills defense, but I just worry about, especially the way the Eagles are playing right now. You talk about the Bucs and their offense, and they already beat them. Like, that could be a tough matchup for them. So it'd be unfortunate for that city and that fan base that finally has a great football team. But I just think these injuries piling up, and I just think it's going to cost them, unfortunately, for them.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. We'll see what ends up happening. They're still my favorite to go to the Super Bowl because of their offense. This is more of an offensive league than a defensive league than it used to be. And I don't really – the other reason, too, is I know Sam Darnold's played well, but he doesn't have any playoff experience. The Eagles, they're a lot of people's favorite right now, but I don't totally trust Sirianni. And the Packers, they're 0-4 against the Lions, Eagles, and Vikings. So they're still my favorite, but we'll see. But we'll see what ends up happening there. But moving on to a team that is again right neck. They know the Lions are still in first place because they beat them, but they're to another team who's neck and neck with the Lions, and that's the Vikings. They head out to Seattle to face the Seahawks this week. And I think this is going to be a competitive game between the two. I think it's going to be competitive. I think this, but I do think Sam Darnold will make that one mistake in the game. I still think he'll make enough plays, and I think the Seahawks defense, seeing if it's Sam Howell or Geno Smith, will force a turnover or two from him. I think it's going to come down to the end with the Vikings defense making a play to win it, and the Seahawks. I said it last week. They just don't play well. They don't play that well at home. They're 3-5 at home this year. It's crazy. They're 3-5 at home. They're clearly better on the road than they are at home. So. They only have one loss. They're 5-1 on the road and 3-5 at home. Weird for the Seahawks to have that split. It usually was the other way around for years. They'd be really good at home and not good on the road. But this year is different. But I think the Vikings win this one close. I got the Vikings winning at 23-17 over the Seahawks. But Justin, can Seattle bounce back this week and stay and keep pace with the Rams in the NFC West?
No, I get the same score as you, 23-17 Vikings in this one. Yeah, I'm not sure how healthy Geno is coming in this one. And the first 3 plays that Sam Howell went out there, he got sacked all 3 times. So Brian Flores going to bring a lot of pressure. We know that. And, if they can get home, especially if Gino's not healthy and it's that ankle where, maybe his mobility is not as good as usual. If he's more of a pocket passer, um, I think they could struggle if they can't block Minnesota up front in this one. So I do think Sam Darnold plays well. I do think the offense does enough for Minnesota in this one. They make some plays, downfield there, and they hit on a couple with Jefferson and Addison, and I do have the Vikings win this one. Yeah, by 6.
It should be an interesting game between those two teams on Saturday afternoon. But we will move on to a team that is in first place in the NFC West, and that's the Rams. And they will travel out to MetLife Stadium to face the Jets. And the Jets offense has been better the last 2 weeks. I'll give them that. Rodgers has started to play pretty well. And I think this is going to be a competitive game between these two. I think it is. I think the Rams offense will be able to run the ball with Kyren Williams. I think Stafford will throw a couple touchdowns. But I do think the Jets offense is going to play well too. I think it's going to be close and competitive, but I think it's going to kind of be how it's been all year, outside of last week for the Jets because they were playing a pathetic defense on the Jaguars. I think Aaron Rodgers will have the ball in his hands at the end and not get it done. And I got the Jets falling to 4-11 and the Rams going to 9-6. I got the Rams beating the Jets 27-23. But Justin, can Rodgers continue to play well and lead the Jets to their second straight win and hurt the Rams' chances to win the NFC West?
No, I'm with you here. I get the Rams 27-20. Their offense it's getting better. It's getting a little bit healthier. I think McVay's going to be able to scheme up some plays there for the wide receivers, and I do think Stafford's going to have a pretty good day. And Rodgers definitely in that offense is starting to figure some things out. It's obviously too little, too late for him, but the Jets defense still isn't great because Mac Jones played pretty well last week.
I know Mac Jones. The Jets defense has struggled all year. It's struggled all season long. They can't. You can talk about Rodgers not being able to step up at the end of the game. The defense hasn't been able to step up either. Pretty much all season long, outside of obviously last week against the Mac Jones and the Jaguars.
Yeah, because they've had many opportunities this year. The Jets have to make that big stop and win a football game. They just haven't done it. So I think this is another week where they're in that they could very possibly be in that situation, and Matthew Stafford goes down the field and gets a touchdown on him. So I like him in this one. I like the Rams coming to East and knocking off Jets yet again. Don't trust that Jet defense in a big spot.
No, you definitely can't trust that Jet defense in a big spot. We will move on to a team that is chasing the Rams and the Seahawks, and they need to win this one. They're 7-7. They need to win this game. This is a must-win for them. They go to Carolina to face the Panthers. And I do think this game is going to be competitive. I do think the Panthers bounce back a little bit this week. I do think Bryce Young plays well. But I do think the difference in this game is I think the Cardinals will run the football better. I think James Conner, as you saw last week, he had a good game on the ground. I think he does it again this week. I think Kyler Murray plays well too. And I got the Cardinals staying in this race. I got the Cardinals staying in the race to win the NFC West and the wild card race. I got the Cardinals winning this game. I got the Cardinals beating the Panthers 27-20. But Justin, can Bryce Young have a big game and ruin the Cardinals' hopes to make the playoffs?
No, I'm with you here with Arizona. I have them as well, 27-23. I do think Bryce Young could have a bounce back game this week and play well. But I think the difference is when James Conner's have a pretty good game on the ground, and I think that's gonna be the difference. I think he should have a huge day there. And Arizona played. They haven't been playing well the last couple of weeks, but until Sunday, and they played really well against a Patriot team that really didn't have much that really showed in that game. So I like the Cardinals to win another one here against Carolina, but I do think Bryce Young plays better and keeps it close. Just won't be able to do enough.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bryce plays better, but ultimately, I think the Cardinals win the game and get to 8-7 and keep pace with the Rams and Seahawks in the NFC West. Moving on to a couple teams that have very, very slim playoff hopes, and we'll start with the Bengals. We'll start with the Bengals as they host the Browns this week, and I think this game's going to be a complete blowout. I think Burrow's going to throw 3 or 4 touchdown passes. Chase Brown's going to have a good game on the ground. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is starting this week for the Browns. I think he's going to turn the ball over. We saw Dorian Thompson-Robinson when he started against the Ravens last year. It was a complete disaster. I think it's going to be the same thing this year. I think the Bengals win this game, and I think they win it big. I think the Bengals 31-13 over the Browns. But Justin, can the Browns end their in-state rivals' playoff hopes?
No, I'm here. I got the Bengals 20-20. Because the Bengals defense isn't great. I do think DTR makes some plays, and I think he can move the ball against his defense. But I just think that Joe Burrow and that offense, obviously they haven't been the problem at all this year. It's been on the defense side of the football. So I didn't think they'll put up points in this one. They'll score. Their defense won't. Those defense will make enough stops in this one. They'll probably get a turnover or two from DTR. And the Bengals do kind of still have a little bit of hope left in the tank for them to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they do. They do. And the thing with the Bengals is here's kind of the Bengals' path to the playoffs. The Bengals need the Broncos to lose. They need the Broncos to lose to go to 9-6. They have to win their game to go to 7-8 because they'll play in Cincinnati next Saturday. So if the Bengals win that one, they're 8-8 and the Broncos are 9-7, and then they'll need Denver to lose to Kansas City and them to beat Pittsburgh. And who knows? Pittsburgh might not be playing for anything. So there is a chance, but there is definitely a chance. Out of the 3, 6, and 8 teams, the Bengals, the Colts, and the Dolphins, the Bengals have the best chance because they have a potential head-to-head with the Broncos. And the Broncos have a tough schedule. I mean, we both think they're going to win tomorrow night, but they have a tough schedule. They got the Chargers, they got the Bengals, and they got the Chiefs. So I know it's a long shot for the Bengals, but the Bengals are actually better off with the Chargers winning that game because they lost the Chargers earlier in the year. They're better off with the Chargers winning that game and the Broncos losing it because I feel like that's their path to the playoffs. Them winning out and the Broncos losing out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think because then there's still some work to do there, but because they already lost the Chargers and hopefully, I guess maybe for their sake, if they're still playing for some of week 18, maybe Kansas City has that 1 seed already wrapped up as well, and the I mean, no, I mean the other way around. Like if Kansas City does lose one of these couple games and Buffalo remains, the kind of and Buffalo goes under, goes to 13-3 going to week 18, and maybe Kansas City's still playing for something. Kansas City's able to knock off Denver, and they're able to knock off Pittsburgh. So I think they definitely be better off with the Chargers win here. But this 3, 6, and 8 teams, they definitely are kind of in the driver's seat there.
Yeah. Out of the 3 of them, they have the best chance, and obviously they have clearly the best quarterback who could win the next 3 weeks. So who you could trust to win the next 3 weeks, and that would be 5. If somehow they could go 9-8 and somehow miraculously make the playoffs, it would be them going 9-8. But it's going to be tough because still, Logan Wilson's out, Sam Hubbard's out, so they have pieces out on defense. From a defense, it's already not very good. So it's going to be hard, but it is still possible for the Bengals to make the playoffs. Now, moving on to a team that lost a devastating game last week, and that was the Colts. And it looked like it looked like they were about to win the game. But Jonathan Taylor, wanted to throw the ball over the goal line, throw the ball before he got over the goal line. He celebrated before he got into the end zone. That game completely turned around against the Broncos. They lost it. But this week against Tennessee, a Tennessee team that's benching Will Levis this will be a team that'll be in the market, just like the Giants, and the Raiders. This will be definitely a team in the market to get a quarterback. So again, this it definitely benefits the Titans more to lose this game than win it. So I think it's a close, competitive game. But I think the difference in this game is they're going to be able to run the ball, and I think the Colts defense forces some turnovers from Mason Rudolph. And I got the Colts here 20-13. Justin, who you got between these 2 teams?
Yeah, I got Indy as well, 20-17. It was time to bench Levis. He really did. He hadn't played well. He's been reckless with the football, with all the turnovers. And Mason Rudolph's not great, but he may not turn over the ball as much as Will Levis will. So, I think they could run the ball pretty well into Indy's defense, but I do think Anthony Richardson makes enough plays in this one, and they do pull out a victory here.
Now going to the last 6 and 8 team, and that is the Dolphins, and they had a really bad loss too on Sunday against the Texans. 3 interceptions. You're paying a guy $55 million to throw $53 million a year to throw 3 interceptions in the biggest game of the year. He was terrible against the Texans. They lost that game, and their playoff hopes are very, very slim. They host the Niners, who are pretty much eliminated as well. Probably one of the most – I know they've had a lot of injuries, but one of the most disappointing teams in the league. Had a player, Devondre Campbell, walk off the field last week. But for this game, I'm going to go with the home team here. I'm going to go with the home team. I think that I'm going to go with the home team. I think both teams are going to score points, but I think the Dolphins score more. I got the Dolphins here 30-24. But Justin, can the Niners end the very, very, very slim playoff hopes the Dolphins have?
Yeah, I think they do. I get the Niners 24-21. I think the Niners, I know with all the injuries, I still think they're a decent team. And every time we talked about last week, Miami goes up against a decent team, they don't play well at all. So I do think, you'll see San Francisco play pretty well in this one. And I do think Tua's probably going to make a mistake or two. And, how do right now with how much we're struggling on offense, how do you not try to get like Tyreek Hill the ball in kind of different ways, like with sweeps because they just,
I know. But
it
you've
makes
talked
no
about
sense.
it for years how overrated Mike McDaniel is.
Yeah. He's another play caller. I don't know if it's just the look with the glasses, with the, with the pants rolled up over the ankles. I don't know if people like him because of all that. He's just quirky, but yeah, he's another one of these we've talked about many times. There's a lot of really good play callers, but they're that are head coaches, but they're not leader of men. And they when they take that coaching job, they struggle and the team struggle, and Miami struggled with toughness the last couple of years. And yeah, yet again, they've done it again. It was pretty disappointing to see that team put up 12 points and they have the 4 turnovers they did last week. So yeah, that was not great in the biggest game of the year for Tua. That's not a good showing for him.
No, not at all, not at all. But I do think the Dolphins bounce back this week against a banged up and a disappointing 49ers team. But we will talk about a game between the two teams that are going to be, vying for the top, one of the top picks in the draft. You got the Jaguars and the Raiders, and I think this is going to be just an ugly game between both teams. But I'll take the team with the better. It's crazy to say Mac Jones is better than Desmond Ridder, but I'll take the team with more talent and the better quarterback and the better coach. Even though Doug Peterson will be gone at the end of the year, but I'll take the Jags here 17-13. Justin, who you got?
Yeah, I get the Jags 2016. Yeah, Mac played pretty well last week. If O'Connell does play, I do think the Raiders could win this game, but the Raiders have trailed in every game this year at one point by double digits, which is
that's crazy.
That's
nuts. That's crazy to think of
how bad this team is. Yeah. Again, they had that game. They could have definitely won that game the other night. A couple of things go their way. But yeah, I think the Raiders probably preferred to lose that game. So I think Jacksonville finds a way to win this football game.
Yep. And we will wrap up talking about the Monday night game between the Saints and Packers. And I don't think this one's going to be close. It looks like Derek Carr is not going to play again. It's going to be Jake Haener or Spencer Rattler. Probably going to be Spencer Rattler. I think he's going to struggle, throw a couple picks. And it looks like Alvin Kamara is not going to play either. And I think the Packers are going to run the ball with Josh Jacobs. I think, they'll do what they do against bad teams. Packers will beat up on them. Jordan Love will throw a couple touchdown passes. And I'm going Green Bay here. I'm going Green Bay 30-10. And Justin, I assume you got the same.
Yeah, I got him 26-16 in this one. I thought Rattler played pretty well when he came in and in the second half there. But yeah, I think he'll make a couple mistakes in this one. I do think Jordan Love plays well against this defense here. And the Saints have been they fought since the firing of Dennis Allen. So I do think the team goes out there and fights, but I don't think they don't have enough talent here. And the Packers able to get this one done.
Yeah, so it should be an easy Packer win on Monday night. But that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Sports Talk with R&J. But we are going to be back in about 10 minutes to talk about the college football playoff and the Yankees continuing to make moves in the offseason. They made a big trade yesterday, acquiring outfielders. Make sure you tune in for that.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Burn, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.